Hey, what's up everybody? It's BDO44 coming at you with another video. Alright, in this particular video, we're going to be talking about the Detroit Pistons. They got the first pick in the draft this year, and they're basically building everything that they got going on around this player. So what I'll do is give you a list of the names on the roster, and then I'll tell you exactly who these rookies are that they have. And of course, we'll dig into Cunningham and tell you as much as I can about that particular player as well. So this is what we're doing. Dwayne Casey is their coach, and the players that they have here are as followed: Cade Cunningham, Sadiq Bey, Jeremy Grant, Killian Hayes, Luca Garza, Isaiah Stewart, Josh Jackson, Kelly Olynyk, Trey Lyles, Saban Lee, Corey Joseph, Frank Jackson, Isaiah Levers, Dennis Smith Jr., Hamadou Diallo, Chris Smith, Rodney Magruder, and that is what we have here for your Detroit Pistons 2021-2022 season. Now, the thing about the Pistons that really interests me is just the fact that they have so much size, man. They have a whole lot of size and a lot of young players. The centers that they have are a good combination of bruisers and guys who are competent from behind the three-point line. Guys with great arm length at their center position. They have guards that can create for others, create for themselves, multiple pick and roll guards, that kind of thing. So it's a whole lot of balance here. You have defensive small forwards, guys that are known for getting out and doing what they have to do in the open court. It's just a lot of nice, big sized, balanced, stretch shooting, all kinds of stuff that you would want to typically try to go out there and compete. The only thing that I say that they could use is just time together. Honestly, this is a brand new team, and this is going to be a tough Eastern Conference. So I don't know that they'll be able to make the playoffs if they don't get a bunch of things to work out in their favor, including the field just not being as good as it's expected to be. They may be canceled out just off of the strength of the Eastern Conference being as it is. But maybe they will be doing some canceling instead of being the ones canceled out. But it's so many teams. You'll know what I'm talking about as you go through those videos. So let's talk about some of the players that I can kind of give you some information on in regards to their rookies. Now, Cade Cunningham, of course, the main guy you want to talk about. Because Cade Cunningham, obviously the first pick in the draft, really doesn't have too many holes in his game. You got to actually look at what he doesn't do and pick through that rather than try to name off the stuff that he does, because he pretty much does literally everything. Dude is 6'8", 220 with a 7'1" wingspan. In college, he shot 41% from the field, 40% from the three. We love that. And 84% from the free throw line. So needless to say, this is somebody who can score from all levels and doesn't have a problem putting the basket, getting buckets out there. A pick and roll god, essentially. Homie does things in the pick and roll that just shouldn't be done, from what I understand. From what I've been studying, this is one of the best pick and roll players ever brought him into the earth. Like, this dude can run the pick and roll in his sleep. He can find passes out of the pick and roll that most people can't find, stuff like that. He's like a supreme high level basketball IQ player as it pertains to it. He's clutch. Very clutch, somebody you can trust to hit the last shot in games, a shot creator for himself and others. As I said, somebody who can do pretty much anything. He has fantastic handle. His arm length allows him to get things done at that point guard position that just shouldn't be. It's 7'1" wingspan, 220 pounds at 6'8". This is like a Luca Doncic, LeBron James prototype type of player. Not in terms of athleticism in LeBron's case, but more so just in terms of having the cerebral nature of being able to make the right play at the right time. Rarely makes mistakes, that kind of guy. Rarely misses, like, he's extremely efficient. This is just a overall superstar coming into the league. And we're expecting him to do just that. Obviously, when it comes to rookies, there's a learning curve. Got to get used to the long schedule. Got to get your health underneath you. Hopefully, you start off on the right path in terms of that. Get a good rookie season. But the problem that Cade has going into this season is just the fact that he's going to be the face of the franchise. And they're going to be relying upon him to carry them wherever they go. Now, granted, he has a lot of, as you already know, guys on this roster who can help him, and they have a lot of balance. But at the end of the day, they're expecting him to lead them. And as a rookie, that's a tough thing to ask a rookie to do. But I think they got the right guy in place to give that to. He's just a fantastic everything guy, really. Great passer, playmaker, good in transition, great rebounder, great pick and roll guy. As I said, a genius basically at that. It tends to make perfect reads both in pick and roll situations and outside of them. Great scorer in the half court, great finisher in the half court particularly. And that's a heck of a thing because obviously isn't as much space when you're considering the half court versus a guy in transition being able to finish well. This guy finishes when the defense is set, and that is a very, very serious skill, as we know. His right-hand floater game is elite. He's a wing scorer, mid-range guy. He can shoot everything. He's a 3-level scorer. He can do it all, and he can guard 4 positions. A very good on-ball defender, somebody who slides his feet well, makes good reads, doesn't fall for head fakes, stuff like that. Just an overall superior superstar. I think that's what separates him from everyone else is the fact that he has IQ, superstar level IQ coming into the league. You already know that he's going to be able to make NBA level reads consistently at a very high level against the best. Now he's going to have to go out there and prove that, because these expectations are as high as I'm saying they are. He had better go out there and play well because the reality is the rest of this draft is talented too. The rest of this draft has stuff in their arsenal that make them special as well. Pretty much 1 through 19 is amazing pretty much from what I've been seeing. So, and maybe even deeper than that as you start looking at some of these players that are in the back of that draft too. So it's just, look, he's the cream of the crop, but it's going to be incumbent upon him to lead the team as opposed to the rest of these guys who are basically going to be looked at to kind of come along slowly. So we'll be paying a very close attention to Motorcade and see how things go. Obviously, he's saying all the right things. He's got an energy about him that is, kind of comparable to some of the other great players who've entered situations for the very first time, like Zion when New Orleans first saw Zion, that kind of thing. It was just that type of buzz where you're getting a special player. LaMelo going to Charlotte, that type of thing. And we'll see how he handles that pressure, It really is all on him. The Detroit Pistons haven't had a number 1 pick in over 40 years. This is the guy. The last time they had a high pick, it didn't work out for them. They picked up, what's his name? They won a championship with the guy. Center, power forward. I'm not going to waste too much time trying to remember this man's name. But we know it didn't work out. They should have took Carmelo Anthony. They should have took Dwayne Wade, et cetera, et cetera. So, moving on from that, we know for a fact that Motorcade's going to be better than that. It's just a matter of health at this point because he's already coming into this league as a big guard with superior shooting skills and excellent IQ. So, moving on from there, the next guard I want to tell you about is a guy they drafted last year. Kind of got hurt early in the season, real bad injury, set him down for almost the majority of his rookie season, but then was able to bounce back and showed people why he was pretty good. Also had a very good summer league this season as well, so he's healthy and ready to go right now. And I think from what I've done homework on, this kid still has extreme upside, Killian Hayes, who we're talking about, a left-handed point guard from France, 6'5" in height, 6'8" wingspan, 6'8.5" wingspan. And he's a fantastic passer, with great court vision, is what I wrote here. Creative ball handler, footwork, and balance is what he's known for. Step-back player. He kind of has a lot of step-back moves that he likes to go to. Crafty player in the paint, crafty with up and under moves, stuff like that. He has great shooting potential, but the numbers did not tell us that. So he's going to have to improve from the three-point line great deal. But he does shoot the free throw quite well. It says he's a great free throw shooter is what I was told there. And really sneaky athletically. Can drive to the basket and create fouls and put other players in foul trouble, things of that nature. So Killian Hayes is a player who's very good at stealing the rock as well. Has the good defensive intangibles. And because of his length and his height, he can guard multiple positions. So this is somebody that you're going to be able to put at the 2 spot, the 1 spot, whatever you need backup 1. He can play it, And because they have so many versatile, multi-positional players, they are one of the more versatile teams in the Eastern Conference. And this is why I think they're going to be just fine in the long term. Even though I don't know that they make the playoffs this year, this is going to be a team you have to deal with for a very long time. So Killian Hayes is a player I think will be all right in the end. I've seen enough from him to know that it's all about health. Health and opportunities for a guy like that. The talent is clearly there. A lot of people wanted to write him off as a bust, even though he started off his rookie season very, 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 bad. More or less, it was bad, and then got hurt. That was enough for some people to say that. I think that's laughable. I don't think anyone should say anything of the sort about a player who's only been in the league for a couple of months and has only played meaningful basketball for even less than a season. It's just no, we're not anywhere near understanding who this player actually is as it pertains to his upside. What we do know, though, is that injury cost him a majority of his rookie season, and he still bounced back and played very well. So that's all we need to know. He'll be going into his sophomore season much healthier and better shape, and I'd expect with a newfound respect for this environment because of Motorcade and the energy that he brings. So everybody on this team will be ready. I know that. The next guy I want to talk about is a guy that they drafted last year as well. Same draft. Guy by the name of Isaiah Stewart, center. Extremely active defensively. 6'9" guy, 7'4" wingspan. Let that sink in. 7'4" wingspan on a 6'9" guy. So that'll let you know what we're dealing with here. This is a very, very strong rebounder. A brute force in the paint, as you would imagine. Even though he's not necessarily explosive, he does get his share of dunks and power slams. Very high motor. Seals out about as well as any centers you're going to find. He uses his big body and his size to put you underneath the basket, and he will score over you once he does that. Draw fouls over you once he does that. Very, very good at that. Offensive rebounder for sure. Effort guy, as I said. He'll put his body out on the line for plays that are necessary, diving out of bounds, putting himself in a position to just be physical with guys, using his long arms to get steals and block shots galore. Block shots. This is also somebody who runs the floor extremely well. You look at a center like this, you think of him as being slow-footed or somebody who's really lanky. No, this guy runs. He has a good stride on his run. Let me tell you, this dude can run the floor, and he's only going to get better at that. Power dunker. Definitely power dunker. Again, not known for his explosiveness, but has a lot of power, and he will dunk when he gets himself a good gather going. He's dunking on your head. And he can stretch the floor. As most centers in this league today, you would need to be able to at least be competent from behind the arc in order to be justified in playing a lot of minutes. He can do that. He has no problem with his set three-point shot. You leave him back there, he's shooting it, it's going in. He has a nice form. This is a new age center. He has no problem powering, doing all that stuff new age centers, the old centers do. But if you leave him back there, you get knocked down, and he's already hitting it. So that means as the years progress, he's only going to get better at it. He's only 6'9", too, so that means you could get away with playing him some 4 at times. You can always play him at the 5, though, because of that wingspan and his ability to defend. He can defend guys who are taller than him in Detroit fashion. You remember a guy by the name of Ben Wallace? Same deal. This is a guy who has the potential to be able to do some of the things that Ben could do, but a lot of the things Ben could never do, including shooting the basketball well. So Isaiah Stewart, his upside is out of this world. Just how the sheer statistics and his activity is going to make it so that he's a double-double guy every night. He's already shown that last year in his rookie season. He was unbelievable for me in fantasy basketball during the second half of the season. He's a must-own this year, even with the little bit of a logjam at the center position that they have. He is someone who's only going to continue to provide more and more statistically as he continues to display what he can do with big minutes. This is not a normal basketball player. I'm thinking a guy who can put up a lot of points and a lot of rebounds a lot of the time and blocks each and every night. So it's just a matter of time, health permitting and opportunities permitting, before he plays his way into a lot of money. So they're gonna have to figure out how they're gonna work him in, because eventually Isaiah Stewart will be paid. But right now it's just year 2. So already you know what he's about, and that's just one of their centers. They have several. So the next name that I want to talk about, let's see, I think I may have written down homework on some more guys. Did a lot here with this team. So yeah, man. At the end of the day, this Piston team. Of course, I want to double back and talk about some of the players that I've already mentioned in name. But those were the guys that we got in the rookies thus far. Oh, there is one more. I knew it. There was two more actually. So we'll get to those guys. Luca Garza is the next guy. Similar play style as Stewart. Similar. Luca Garza is a guy they took out of Iowa this year. 7'1" wingspan, 6'11". So he's more of a traditional center. Bruiser, same stuff that we were talking about, same type of stuff. Bruiser, bully ball, back to the basket, can draw fouls, inside efficiency. This is somebody who seals well, gets you under the paint, doing the bully ball thing. Kind of has some Andre Drummond in his game, just like Stewart, those guys. They all can play under the rim, get you scoop shots, sealing people up, that kind of thing. This dude draws fouls very well. That kind, you get what I'm trying to say. Old school throwback center. But, you know what I'm about to say. He can stretch the floor. None of these guys that are coming into this league at that center position are like this to where they just can't hit a three anymore. That's over with. You got to be able to hit a three because all of these guys can do all that stuff your back to the basket centers can do. So this guy shot 36% in college at Iowa. But he's mid-range capable, face-up capable. So, you leave him in the corner thinking you're going to be able to play off of him, maybe double off of him. He's knocking it down. He's going to knock it down from the mid-range. He's going to knock it down from three. Anything you can consider in regards to facing up. Imagine 7'1" guy. You know how hard it is to shoot over guys to guard guys who are shooting at a 7'1" wingspan, 6'11". That's impossible most of the time. He's one of those guys. He's shooting over you. So, yet another center weapon for Cade Cunningham and Killian Hayes to set up for, and other guards that are on this team who can also set up for others. It's a great team of cohesive basketball players with size, and that is a lot to like. Let me tell you something. Next name, of course, I said there was another one, Saban Lee, who's a guard that they drafted last year, out of Vanderbilt. 6'2" with a 6'9" wingspan. This dude is 6'2" with 6'9" wingspan. Understand, very long arms. Very, very long arms. A point guard, but I'm sure you can play other positions with a wingspan like that, man. You could play the two for sure, at least. Athleticism, explosiveness. This dude gets off the floor. He's strong. He bodies people up. So this is a little dude with long arms who bodies people up. I'm thinking just off of that alone, that's like Eric Bledsoe. That's what we're talking about in regards to that. Long arms, shorter, considered short, even though he's taller than me for sure. He's considered short, but long arms. He has step back moves. He's a step back scorer. Has some of those mechanical moves that work in his favor that he can go to at will. He's very crafty as well. Inside scorer, attacks the rim, stuff like that. Also good at the pick and roll. Also very good at scoring off the pick and roll and creating plays for others in the pick and roll. So again, you got pick and roll geniuses all over the place. People who are known for doing that. Not bad shooting form, but can definitely improve. He's another one of those guys whose percentages in college didn't necessarily show up. I didn't check to see what he did in his rookie season last year. I kind of went by most of the stuff they were saying in his college draft stuff. But I did watch some highlights of him, and he did have a good rookie season as well with the Detroit Pistons last year. He changes direction extremely well with the ball. He's a guy who can kind of do some things with the ball in his hand. And is a confident pull-up shooter. He's a guy who will step right into his pull-up shot very, very confidently, catch it off of the pick and roll, and if you're sagging off of him, hit the three, that kind of thing. So he's extremely good at drawing fouls, and I think he's going to be somebody that you have to deal with as well. I had him on fantasy last year a little bit, and even though his role wasn't as consistent because they had a pretty deep team at his position last year, when he did play, as I always like to say, he showed out. And I think this year he's going to have a much bigger role given the fact that they now know what he can do. So what this all tells me is that Detroit Pistons front office has been doing its job and having a idea about what they wanted their team to look like from a theoretical standpoint and going out to execute each and every bit of that plan. That's what I see here. They wanted a big lineup. They value that size, and they wanted to put defensive players in the center position and the small forward position respectively, and pick and roll players at the guard positions and the center positions respectively that can all shoot, all slash, all draw fouls, and all get their hands of the rim. They can all dunk on your head, each and every one of them. I want to kind of break down the roster a little further. Some of the names I've already talked about so we can get an understanding of what I'm looking at. Saddiq Bey is a guy they drafted last year, and I wish I would have wrote down did some homework on the Saddiq Bey a little more so, but I can tell you this. He's a very legit small forward in this league. His rookie season was big time. He was efficient, he was defensive, and he was strong. That's as much as I can say I did any homework on Saddiq Bey. I just didn't do it. I should have. But I know for a fact he has a big role with this team. Another guy who's a fantastic fantasy player if you need a small forward in fantasy basketball who can shoot the ball, get some things done defensively, who should be ascending in his numbers. Saddiq Bey is a good bet to help you if you have like 14-team leagues, 12-team leagues. He's somebody who I would look at the end of my draft. And, at the end of the day, I look at his situation and say because he can play so many positions, he's multi-positional and he's big, I don't think he'll be hurting for minutes on this team. He should be competing for their starting small forward position in theory, but he will have some competition. So that's what I think of Saddiq Bey. I just dropped the ball, man. I would have did homework on him too. Next name, Jeremy Grant. Now, Jeremy Grant is one of the most important players on this team. He was a guy that took a chance with Detroit before they were becoming what it is that they're building now. Usually you don't see that. But this is the individual who, it was reported, he said he wanted to play for a black hometown, a town that predominantly had African Americans in it. And he decided to go to Detroit. He wanted to be in a situation where he could kind of spread his wings, show that he's the type of player that he believes himself to be. When he was with Denver, he was a go-to defensive player, one of the most important players on their team at the time, because you could throw him on players who were more talented or guys who were super athletic or what have you, and he would stay in front of them and do a good job on them. So when he left Denver, they really missed what it is he brought to the table. And even they were trying to go back and find that by going to get Aaron Gordon. So Jeremy Grant is somebody who's missed everywhere he leaves, and now that he lands in Detroit, he kind of had he had a fantastic season from a number standpoint and his personal standpoint, but the team didn't do very well, so nobody was really watching. This year, everybody's going to be paying attention because of Cade once again, and I think Jeremy Grant's going to be one of the most important, if not most reliable players on this entire roster. Because at the end of the day, he's developed himself into somebody who can not only do a lot for you on both ends, but like everybody else I've mentioned, he can stretch the floor, and his three-point shot has gotten significantly better since he was drafted. He's continuing to work on that to this day. So I expect him to be starting somewhere on that roster. He's going to be probably their starting four, if I'm guessing, but they have versatility. They can do a lot of things, but I'm assuming he's going to be either 3 or 4. That's what I think. So next name that I want to kind of dig into is Josh Jackson, because I was a real big Josh Jackson fan coming out of the draft back in 2017. He was the 4th pick of that draft, and he went to the Phoenix Suns. And just didn't start off very hot. He had his moments there, but it wasn't really something that really made it so that his draft status could be justified. He just didn't live up to that draft status, to be honest with you. But he has gotten a lot better. And slowly but surely, with each and every opportunity he gets, he shows why he's a high-level performer. Last year, he had a low-key breakout year. Actually, I want to say the year before that, because he really did show signs of it, but last year he really took it to another level. And Josh Jackson's somebody who I wonder what his opportunities will be, because I think he's ready to step into a role where he's ready to start, but I don't think that this team can provide him that this year. But this is a guy who was known for what he did on the defensive end. He was known for getting handful of rim every time he went for the for play in college. He dunked at nearly everything. If you look at his highlights in college, that's what stood out to me, because I watched a lot of draft coverage from him from that particular year, just because the Lakers had an opportunity to get a draft pick that year. So I was thinking maybe he might be one of the ones we would have a look at, and really enjoyed what I saw there because of how aggressive he was, because of how monstrous he tended to be. That didn't really translate to the NBA like I thought it would. But I think over time, as he continues to build strength, he can find that again. This was a monster in college in terms of that, and he was an excellent defender and continues to be somebody who I believe has real upside on that side of the floor. So I'm curious to see where he is in his development this year. I don't know that he'll ever be who we thought he would be, but that doesn't mean he can't still be really, really good. So he's already looking like he's going to be, and I think this is a very important year for Josh Jackson to continue to elevate himself. So I think he'll do just that. He's going to help with the defensive end for sure. Him and Jeremy Grant and Cade Cunningham, Sadiq, those guys are huge, and they're going to be guarding the heck out of people. All right, next name we're going to be talking about, Kelly Olynyk. Kelly Olynyk was a player I wanted on my team. I didn't think we could afford him, and we couldn't, but boy, Kelly Olynyk really broke out last season. He's also a guy who's gotten better each and every year, made his name stretching the floor, shooting the three ball from the center position like the two other guys on this team. But he does it at a much higher level. He is known from shooting the ball. And last year, the Rockets gave him a role that allowed him to really spread his wings and step out and show that he's a close to all-star, if not all-star level center. Just one of the most reliable shooters from that position you're going to find in the league today. He rebounds the ball extremely well as well. High-level, three-level scorer, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't watched a lot of him, but I did own him in fantasy quite a bit at the end of the year, as I always do with these players. And I'm telling you, he was one of the most important players I owned, period. Not just on my team at given moments. I'm talking about from a shooting percentage standpoint, you want him on your team. And he did a lot of everything for Houston. I think that his role is going to be a bit more limited because of this presence of an Isaiah Stewart, because of the presence of a Garza. But it's a three-man rotation there, so you will see plenty of Kelly Olynyk, and Kelly can play some four as well because he can shoot the ball some. So there will be opportunities to do all kinds of things with this roster, and I suspect they will do just that. But when you talk about the players that I want Cade Cunningham creating for, guys I want Killian Hayes creating for, he's going to be one of the first names I'm thinking about in terms of guys shooting the ball. Kelly Olynyk makes this team a real shooting team, along with Cade Cunningham and his superior shooting talent. So that's where you're going to get the majority of your shooting from, I think, looking at the guys that they have. Sadiq Bey can shoot as well. But I think probably the best shooter I see on this roster to my naked eye is Kelly Olynyk outside of Cade Cunningham. The next guy up is Kelly Olynyk. So I would suspect he should find his way to either starting on this team or having a bigger bench role than he's had with both Boston and Miami. Miami, he was like one of many guys off that bench and in that lineup who could do the things that he does. And he hadn't developed into who he was going to be yet. Same thing with Boston. Wasn't quite there yet. But with Houston, he showed that he could be a starter. So I don't know if they'll start him. Probably not right away. Maybe they will. Who knows? If they value him as much as I do, they'll consider it for sure. But he'll be a big time scorer for them before the end of the season. He's going to be one of their most important players for sure. All right, next guy up, Trey Lyles. Trey Lyles is another guy who's ascending in value, slowly but surely finding his way. He was drafted very high, if I'm not mistaken. I think he went to Utah. I don't think he was drafted to Utah. Kind of played a little bit there, didn't really get off the bench. Kind of had a lot of guys in front of him, that kind of thing. Ended up in San Antonio, showed glimpses there, but again, a lot of guys in front of him. It's just like this, when you're drafted and you're a talented stretch, whatever you are, but if you don't come out blazing of glory, guys just continue to get stacked in front of you. Guys continue to get drafted on top of you. The free agent may come in from out of nowhere and suddenly you don't have a job. That kind of stuff was happening to Trey Lyles. So it's just like, it's not one of those things where you don't see upside. It's just during the first 4 or 5 years of certain players' careers, they just jump all the way around because the development makes it so that they're considered either busts or scrubs, when in actuality, they're just getting better and are having a hard time showing it because they get typecast into these minutes type of roles where they have minutes restrictions / limited minutes, basically. Just, it's just like this. I can't get off the bench because everybody continues to play in front of me. And then when I get out there, maybe I do some good things, but maybe I roll an ankle. And that sets me back. So it's like, that's what's been going on kind of there with Trey Lyles. But I think with this Detroit Piston team, you could see him playing for something as they continue to grow as a team. Like, this is going to be a playoff team within the next 3 years. If they don't make it this year, they'll make it next year, and they'll continue to be there as this team gets better together if they don't do anything stupid with the roster. So I can see if he stays with this team, eventually he will be in a space where he'll be playing meaningful ball at a time where he'll be considered stepping into his prime. And whatever that means for him, I think is a good thing because he'll be able to show exactly what he's worth and continue to get jobs in this league that will allow him opportunities to truly show that. At the end of the day, Trey Lyles is a guy who can shoot the ball. He can score the ball with the best of them at the power forward position. Not known for being a defensive player from what I understand, but definitely somebody who has some explosive athleticism in him here and there, but more so about shooting the ball. That's what it's about. And so he's a weapon, yet another shooting weapon for those guys to set up for. All right. Hamadou Diallo, another player with a lot of upside, played with the OKC Thunder, and he was just athletic, very, very athletic, very slick slasher, if I'm not mistaken, from the small forward shooting guard position. Definitely a guy who's multi-positional, has a lot of upside, and I think he's waiting for an opportunity to show that he's the real deal. I know he's waiting to break out. I've already seen him at his best. Now it's just about him getting that opportunity to show what he can do, just like a lot of other players. Dennis Smith Jr., that another player that we know about, who's been drafted high, kind of bounced around a little bit. New York, of course, Dallas, where he initially started his career. Had a couple triple doubles, things like that, but mostly known for his turnovers and his knee injuries. But he's healthy. He's been working. This would be considered what? If he's had a full spectrum of basketball, which he hasn't because he's been in and out of lineups, this would be what, year 5 or year 6? But he's played less basketball than a lot of people because of those injuries and because of those roles. So in my opinion, this is still a player with a lot of upside. He's somebody who showed with the Detroit Pistons, believe it or not, that he had some value left, that he could do it. He left the Pistons for a couple seconds, and they brought him back this season. So this is the situation he's in. People know that the momentum for Dennis Smith Jr. is high. It's sort of like the energy surrounding Markelle Fultz last season before he got hurt with his knee. You just know that if he gets an opportunity, he's going to remind everybody that he's not the guy that we've been seeing him be or not see in this case. He's better than that. He's a real player in this league, and it's just a matter of whether or not he will be healthy enough to show it when the opportunity comes. That's what it's about for Dennis Smith. I already know who he is. I haven't forgotten. I haven't lost faith. He just didn't develop properly. That's all. So, so on and so forth. Let's see. Kind of flipped away from my page there. But yeah, that's the gist of this Detroit Piston team, man. They got a lot of young players, but the players make sense. They slip in with one another well. They have Dwayne Casey as a coach who we know can coach, who kind of got a raw deal in Toronto after winning Coach of the Year, I think it was. They fired him right after the playoffs. I don't know. Just didn't seem like the best way to go, but they ended up replacing him and winning a championship a la Golden State with Mark Jackson and Steve Kerr. It's the same type of deal. And, he gets another opportunity with Detroit, and this team is going to be just as exciting to coach because they got a lot of young players, as I said. So Isaiah Levers is a player that they have, a small forward that they drafted, 42nd pick in this year's draft. Didn't do my homework on the homie, but I wish him well out of, I believe, Michigan. So he's another small forward at 6'6" that can kind of rival Jeremy Grant and Josh Jackson for that 3 spots. Sadiq Bey, he's in that rotation. Frank Jackson, point guard. I remember Frank Jackson. He really showed some good things when he was drafted about 5 years ago, something like that, with the New Orleans Pelicans. But then he went down with a very bad knee injury after having a fantastic summer league. I remember this dude. Haven't heard his name since, but he finds his way onto this roster, so I assume that means he's healthy and ready to go. Rodney Magruder's on this team as well. Kind of made a name for himself with the Miami Heat a couple years back. Kind of been disappearing ever since with the Clippers and various teams. He's kind of been floating around the league, but he did show that he could shoot with Miami. Corey Joseph. We know Corey Joseph from Toronto. He won a championship there, played with the Spurs for many years. He's with this team right now as well as a role-playing point guard to add some depth and some leadership, some experience, the championship experience, stuff like that. So that is the Detroit Piston roster as I have it written down. They have a guy by the name of Chris Smith out of UCLA too, a guy from out here. He was undrafted. They picked up after the draft. Didn't do my homework, but I'm sure everybody in this area who follows college basketball knows who that guy is. He's going to be with the Detroit Pistons as well. So that is the Detroit Pistons. That's what I have. Lots of homework, man. That was the most homework I did for any team. I just wanted to come prepared. I know that most of the players that they have on this team have been drafted in the last 2 years, and they did all break out. What does that tell me? And Detroit Pistons have drafted well lately, and they're developing players well right now, and that spells success. That's what that spells. This is a team that's had some bad luck with the draft picks. They didn't have any draft picks a couple of years back. Some things kind of bounced the wrong way with some bad trades and some bad swaps, and they got the wrong end of the swap, so therefore they lost a draft pick when they thought they were going to get a high one a couple of years back. Pretty devastating stuff, but they make up for that this year, get Cade Cunningham, cream of the crop, and they give him the keys. And they surround him with shooters, surround him with bigs, got some good draft picks that carry over from last year who played well, broke out. All of them look like they're ready to come together and make for a very young and exciting big lineup team. I'm super excited. Isaiah Stewart reminds me of a Derek Favors that can shoot the three. And that is a hell of a player when you consider that. I just wanted to say that because I remember thinking about how long Derek Favors' arms are. And even though he's like 6'10", 6'9", it makes it as if he's like a 7'3" guy because you can't deal with that length. So that's kind of who he reminds me of just off as a final note. But anyway, yeah, that's what I got, man. Playoffs, nah. I'm not going to say playoffs. They have enough talent to make the playoffs. But do I think they're going to be able to overcome this particular Eastern Conference this year? Nah. This is not a normal Eastern Conference in my opinion. This is a souped-up Eastern Conference. So in this Eastern Conference, nah, I don't have to make it in the playoffs. I got them on the outside of it. But that's not a bad thing. All they need is all their players to continue to play well, continue to find meaningful roles for each and every one of those guys, and continue to build through the draft as they've been doing, and don't take on any meaningless contracts that don't help you. You haven't done so thus far, and you always understand that you're going to have to pay somebody. So eventually they're going to have to choose who they're going to keep and try to convince some people to take some pay cuts so they can keep as much of this core together. But they ain't got to worry about that right now. For the next 2 years, basically, they can keep these guys together and do some winning. And that's not necessarily the window, but it is the window for this much talent. So we'll see what they can do with it, man. They got a big lineup, and at the end of the day, if guys start getting hurt in other teams, stuff like that, you never know. Cade Cunningham has a rookie of the year kind of year. Kelly Olynyk steps up. Maybe Jeremy Grant makes an all-star team. You never know. Good things can happen when you have this much natural ability on one roster. So that's what I got. My name is BDL44. Thank y'all for watching.